Steve in Chicago. Hey, Steve, what's up?
Yes, I want to make a couple of points, if I might. One with regard to a discussion of Islam and the way in which some people want to characterize it as being somehow disproportionately adherent to violence or advocating violence.
Right.
I would argue that given the scholarship that we recognize that the history of religion in any given society undergoes evolution. That's why, though one might characterize Western Europe as being a Christian land, it's far less likely that people there find their lives governed, a political agenda, let alone a violent agenda that stems from that because they've undergone an evolution. It's less so in the United States, where you're more likely to find an Eric Rudolph here than you are in, say, Western Europe, where the discussion of abortion doesn't even take place. And the notion that anyone would take the stage in a presidential debate in Western Europe and talk about Jesus or God as being important in terms of public policy.
It would be shocking.
Yes, exactly. And so we do need to recognize that for Islam, I think that they are undergoing an evolutionary period.
Yeah, that was my point. I said that I think Islam is going through a reformation. Islam is only 700 years old. Christianity is 2,000 years old. Judaism is 3,000 years old. Buddhism and Hinduism are somewhere between 3,000 and 7,000 years old. All of these religions, with the exception of Islam, Islam is relatively recent. Mormonism is going through a reformation right now, too. There was an interesting piece in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago about this.
And you're absolutely correct. And we do have to recognize, to be intellectually honest and say, that given the nature of where this religion stands in terms of the societies where it's practiced, one can say it is more likely that you are going to find a Muslim suicide bomber than you are, as a colleague of mine put it, than you're going to find a Buddhist suicide bomber. Have you ever heard of a Buddhist suicide bomber?
Well, I don't know of any nation that's ever been invaded in the name of Buddha. I mean, Buddhism is the one world religion that explicitly started out and has always been a religion of peace. And I don't mean that in the kind of generic, friendly.
Right, absolutely, and I would agree with you. Interpreters of religions such that they believe that it falls upon them to extend their faith through violence is obviously a problem. So again, I think that I certainly agree with you with regard to the way in which we need to look more deeply and deconstruct this question, not simply the sort of blanket statement that Islam is full of a bunch of crazy people who want to go out and kill everyone else in the name of Islam. Instead, it requires a much deeper sense of analysis. And also, I wanted to say that in terms of this question of race and where we've come in our society, I don't want to be too cynical because I was listening to the discussion you were having, and it certainly is the case that we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But we've also come a long way.
You're right. You're right. And we need to acknowledge that. And perhaps I wasn't sufficiently in my conversation with Hayes Brown. Steve, thank you for the call. Well said.